يا رسول الله يا حبيب الله يا رسول الله يا حبيب الله يا نور عيني يا حبيبي يا نور عيني يا حبيبي يا بالزهراء يا رسول الله يا رسول الله.
Assalamu alaikum, my dear friends. How are you? I missed you. In the previous episode, we talked about the difficult and sad period that followed the Battle of Uhud and how the Muslims were able to come out of it stronger in their faith and patience, and how they regained security and stability for their city Al-Medina. Unfortunately, the period of hardships and trials did not end yet. Afterward, a great ordeal befell our beloved Prophet and his noble companions. So, come with me, my dear friends, to know the rest of the story together. After the evacuation of Bani Nadir tribe to Khaybar, the Jews gathered there and decided to plot against the Muslims. So, they sent a delegation carrying money to Quraysh and the tribes that were hostile against the messenger to incite them to fight him and gather an army to attack the Medina and end the presence of Muslims there. That delegation succeeded in their mission, and an army of 10,000 fighters were formed and named the Army of Al-Ahzab or Confederates. It began moving toward Medina. And when the news reached our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he gathered his companions and as usual to consult with them what to do and how to face this great threat. Salman al-Farisi, may Allah be pleased with him, suggested to the Muslims to dig a large trench around the Medina from the area where the enemies could enter the city. And that's exactly what happened, my dear friends. All the Muslims worked with a great determination to dig the trench. Also, our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ participated in the digging, carrying soil, dividing the work, enduring hunger and thirst with them, and giving them the glad tidings of Allah's victory and triumph. And indeed, the Muslims completed digging the trench before the arrival of the enemy. Our Prophet ﷺ organized guard posts to protect the trench and prevent the enemies from crossing it. He also gathered 3,000 fighters near him to defend and repel the attackers. When the army of the Confederates arrived, they could not cross the trench, so they set up a camp near it and besieged the Muslims. After that, some of the strong enemy fighters tried to invade the trench, but the brave companions prevented them from crossing it. The attempts were repeated, but all of them failed. The resistance was great, and some of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, were wounded by arrows. The siege lasted for 3 weeks, and the Muslims suffered from hunger and exhaustion, as it was difficult and costly also for the enemies. So, the enemies tried to break through the city's defense and sneak into it from the south, which was protected by the forts of Bani Qurayza. Then, they secretly reached an agreement between Huyay ibn Akhtab, the leader of Bani Nadir, who participated in the army of the Confederates, and the leader of Bani Qurayza to betray the Muslims and allow the enemy army to enter the city from their side. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ knew of their betrayal and confirmed the agreement, but he still said to those around him, "Rejoice, O Muslims, in the victory and triumph of Allah." Then he sent someone to guard the Muslim women and children in the forts. When the hypocrites learned that the southern side of their city was exposed, all they began to abandon and flee. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ attempted to weaken the enemy's strength, So he secretly met with the leaders of Banu Ghatafan, who were involved in the siege, to negotiate with them. They stipulated that in order to lift the siege, they would need to take 1/3 of the city's produce for 1 whole year. When our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ consulted with the Ansar leaders, may Allah be pleased with all of them, they refused to give the enemy the fruits of their city and said, "By Allah, we will give them nothing but the sword until Allah judges between us." At that point, everyone agreed to continue to fight and endure the hardship and difficulty until the victory of Allah comes. And indeed, the victory of Allah, the Almighty, came after Muslims exerted their effort, energy, patience against the enemies. The beginning of the victory was, well, with the arrival of Na'im ibn Mas'ud, who was one of the leaders of Ghatafan, to embrace Islam without the knowledge of his people. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ ordered him to deceive the enemies and weaken their determination, as war is a deception. With his intelligence, Na'im was able to create a division between Banu Qurayza tribe and this on one side and the Ghatafan and Quraysh tribes on the other side, causing them, both these groups, to doubt each other's intentions. Then Allah sent strong and cold wind to the enemy's camp, which uprooted their tents and extinguished their fires, forcing them to decide to retreat without fighting and breaking the siege that had lasted for a whole month. But as soon as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ returned home with the fighters from the trench in the morning, Jibreel alayhi salam came to him at noon and ordered him to prepare for the battle against these Banu Qurayza. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ left immediately with 3,000 noble companions and led siege to these Banu Qurayza that betrayed the Muslims for 25 nights. Then Allah instilled fear in their hearts, and they surrendered to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and submitted to the judgment of the Prophet. That they told him that their ally from Al-Aus tribe, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, may Allah be pleased with him, he will be the one to pass judgment on them, despite being injured by an arrow in the battle. He passed the judgment, my friends, on them with the judgment of Allah above the 7th heaven, which was to kill their fighters, capture their women and children, divide their wealth and lands as a punishment for their treachery and betrayal. Thus, Al-Medina was rid of all these Jewish tribes that betrayed the Muslims. By the grace of Allah, a new phase of life of the Prophet began, with victory and honor for the Muslims and a clear challenge to their enemies. So, what happened next? And why did the messenger, may Allah be pleased with him, decide to challenge the Quraysh and head there with the noble companions to perform Umrah in Mecca? Did Quraysh allow him to do so? And what was the story of Treaty of Al-Hudaybiyah? Well, all of this and more will be revealed in the next episode, my dear friends, so stay tuned.